it's not like I wasn't working with mental health professionals, but there was something about my love of theater and my desire to heal that sort of made me go, I need to write about this. I need to perform this. I need to tell this. I need to say to the world that I'm going to be okay. And so I think that was kind of the energy of those first years.
And welcome back to the Broad Street Review podcast. I'm Darnelle Radford, your host. And we are so deep into the Philadelphia Fringe Festival. It's crazy. I don't know how we can even see any sunlight. There's a little overcast today, but it's been a ride, really. Over 300 productions in the 2025 Philly Fringe Festival. And one of the newest hubs is the biggest hub in the festival, and that's the Cannonball Hub. And it's just been crazy how much they've been able to curate through their multiple venues. And I saw that everything I was grabbing to add to my list was part of Cannonball. and so that was really great. Cannonball and all the performers have their fingers on the pulse. I feel like everything we've been experiencing has been, it's been crazy and funny and had some very powerful messages behind them. And today's guest is more of that. I'm here with Anna Snapp, whose production I found that The Sun Will Rise Tomorrow is an offering in the festival. And so we're here to talk to Anna. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I was fortunate enough to see your production. I forget what day I went. It was a Saturday. I think it was a Saturday.
Last Saturday. So I think it was the 20th.
Yeah. And I was just so moved by it. Like, you know, when you explore an artist's journey and you just think like, wow, you must be at a wonderful place now that you're able to tell the story. But all of this is a part of you. You know, people always think it's, you know, trauma and past, you know, situations are things that you overcome, and ultimately you learn to live with the fact that these things have happened. Mm-hmm. And you find a way to move forward, whether it's helping people or you present some art so that you can make it make sense to more people. And that's what I felt about this piece. And so I was excited to reach out to you and say, let's have a chat about this. And I'm glad you're here.
Me too. I'm so glad. And thank you for coming to the show. It's been probably the biggest part of my life for the last 10 years. So
wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I had no idea that you had been producing this for a while. And so it's great to get to where it is.
Yeah, I started writing it in 2015 and then or late 2014, early 2015. And then in 2016, I opened it at a Black Box in sort of the DC area. And then I did Capitol Fringe in DC. I did Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland. And then I actually got picked up by the medical community. So like I'll present the show to different medical students, doctors, nurses, other medical professionals, mental health professionals. And then typically after those shows, sort of do a little bit of a talk back or panel discussion, maybe even a workshop about one patient's perspective and kind of like what is it actually like to be a human experiencing a new diagnosis or being in the healthcare system, as opposed to, you know, a medical professional who often learns the science behind it and not necessarily always kind of the human side of it. And then I performed it off Broadway at the United Soul Theater Festival, and then finally made it to Cannonball and Philly Fringe. So it's been kind of a crazy journey, and there's been many iterations of the show, and I'm very proud of this most recent one. I mean, I'm proud of every version. Each version couldn't have existed without the version before it. But I think this is the strongest it's been, and yeah, it's been really wonderful.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. When did you get started making art? Was this your first piece, or you had many pieces before this?
This was my first show I wrote, but I've been acting pretty much my whole life, and I've always been really into writing since I was young, but never in kind of an official manner, I'd say. So I wrote this show, and then I actually have another solo show. So, like I mentioned, I sort of got picked up by the medical community and do a lot of those sort of medical humanities contracts. Before the pandemic, one of my sort of colleagues in that space said for the medical school she worked for, she said, we're doing the second year med students are doing a curriculum on eating disorders, and I have a past with an eating disorder. And she said, could you
Mm.
make a piece about this? She wasn't specific about what she needed, but I thought to myself, I've done verbatim theater and I've always loved verbatim theater. So over lockdown, I interviewed hundreds of people who'd battled an eating disorder virtually, over Zoom, since that's when the Zoom boom sort of happened in the early 2020, and then transcribed those interviews. And then I'm not sure how much do you know about verbatim theater? Are you familiar with the format?
Go ahead and break it down for some of our
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, so basically, it's a very cool thing. It's also known as docudrama or documentary theater, but basically you record interviews typically about a very specific topic, and then you transcribe the interview. You sort of boil it down into a monologue. So you take bits and pieces that you think capture the essence or voice of that real person, and then as the performer, you recreate their voice on stage. So that means everything from if they have an accent, the intonation of their voice, the volume, the speed, if they say if they trip over their words, if they cough, anything they do vocally, you're mimicking basically. And
Mm.
so it kind of seems like a documentary on stage. So I made this piece called It's Not About the Damn Food, about the kind of misconceptions and miseducation around eating disorders. And I took out of the, I think, over 400 people I interviewed, I took 9 people's stories and told those stories as well as my own. And that premiered a few years ago. But the piece that I've mostly worked on and really sort of been workshopping and developing for years is I Found That the Sun Will Rise Tomorrow, which is, obviously the show you saw. So yeah, I hope to do more of it. And I really found this like very beautiful niche kind of in the sort of health space,
Mm.
because I feel like I can just connect to it more. I know people have different feelings about write what you know, but I do think that part of the reason why, especially my autobiographical show, I Found That the Sun Will Rise Tomorrow, I think resonates with so many people is because ultimately at the end of the day, I'm speaking from the heart.
Mm.
And, that's
Yeah.
kind of like its own thing that can't be touched,
Yeah. What was this always the title?
It was. However, like if you saw the version of it in 2016, it was a very different show. Even the one in
Mm.
2019 was a different show. So, and I think it's also the last line of the show, or actually, I'm not sure if I should even give that away, but something about the ending of the show has even changed, where some of the mood, without giving away too much, it used to be this more kind of like black and white statement about how things can get better,
Mm.
or things will get better. And I tried to sort of lean in a little bit more into some of the nuance of like you said in the beginning of the podcast, these are things I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. I'm not activated or triggered by these things on a daily basis, and I feel good. But healing is not something where it's like, I'm healed and I'm good, let's go.
Mm.
So I tried to sort of encompass a little bit, especially in the ending and just throughout the show, just really embodying this is something that I live with, but it got better, and
Mm.
I can do this again. And if I can go through that, I can go through this. And I don't know where my life's going to take me next, but now I have the tools to know that if something bad were to happen again or multiple bad things, I know I got myself. And
Yeah.
that's not an energy I had even when I first started performing the show. I was not
Mm.
like, I got this. And now it's almost like I feel like because I've gone through all of this that I can say to myself, Anna, you've managed harder. So
Yeah. Take if you can take us to that first performance. What was going on in your mind? I know you had rehearsed it before you presented it, but what were you thinking at the time?
are you talking about back in 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think I was still in a fake it till you make it stage of the show. I think
Mm.
that I had PTSD, I would say well into 2015, and I was in residential treatment, and a lot of the show was actual journal entries that I then transitioned into a play. And so I think that it was so real and raw and recent to my struggles that for me it was like this desperate call that I made to like heal more. I'd been
Mm.
in therapy since I was 10 at that. I mean, I had been in therapy at that point for 15 years, and I was. It's not like I wasn't working with mental health professionals, but there was something about my love of theater and my desire to heal that sort of made me go, I need to write about this. I need to perform this. I need to tell this. I need to say to the world that I'm going to be okay. Um, and so I think that was kind of the energy of those first years of the show was just like, I'm going to tell the world that I'm okay, even
Mm.
if I don't believe it. And the difference now is that I'm okay and I believe that.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I say I think the piece is stronger and more powerful now, is because there's even friends who had seen earlier versions and came to see this one in Philly. They were like, you just seem so much more grounded in what you were saying. You seem so much more confident with what you were saying and actually believing it, as opposed to just being like, you know, I believe the sun will rise tomorrow.
Mm.
Or am I saying that to trick my brain, which is not a bad tool. We've all done it. We've faked it till we've made it in different areas of our life, whether it's confidence or something at work or in a relationship, whatever.
Hmm.
But it's the first time in my life that I'm like, oh, I'm not saying that so that people think that I'm okay. I'm saying that because I believe that I am, and I am.
Yeah. And it takes a while to change your language too. Um, I feel like when you're younger, we when you're younger, we definitely look at what sucks, what's not great, what's
Mm,
wrong, and we kind of lead with negativity.
yeah.
And sometimes it's because our friends respond, where if you're just like, oh, this is gross. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. And it's like, okay, so let's completely talk about what's wrong. Like you're
Yeah.
resonating with this. But then you get older and you have to change your mindset on these things because you've
Hmm.
been conditioning yourself to find negativity in everything,
Yeah.
that it's hard to see the silver lining, even though we've been saying that forever. Every cloud is a silver lining. Oh yeah, well, where
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. Where is it? I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also just like when you're in such a bad mental state and you're in such a dark place, then it's like doubly harder to see the silver lining. Like it's already
Mm.
hard to see as a young person because I started getting sick when I was 18. Most of the next several years were really bad. And I was still really young. Like my 20s were just very different, especially from my peers. I wasn't experiencing my 20s the way most people do.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's just if you would, it was kind of like, when you're in a dark place mentally and someone says it's going to get better, you kind of want to smack them. Like
Yes.
it's that kind of energy. I
Mm.
it was There was no single person on this earth who I would have believed that I would be doing what I'm doing today.
Mm.
No, like you couldn't. I had no idea. I didn't think I was going to survive. I didn't think I was going to make it to my 30s. I didn't think I was going to make it past the next day. At the time, I could only see what was right in front of me.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, it is like such a mindset shift and that has to come from you too. And that's why, like I said, like each version of this show was so important because I couldn't have 2025 version without 2016 version.
Mm.
And I had gone to a writing conference with this playwright and screenwriter in Colorado in 2018. And basically it was a group of writers. Everyone had to come in with their screenplay, their play. It was like 8 of us or something. And then there was the person running the workshop. And this was the first time that I was getting external feedback besides from outside of the directors that I had already worked with.
Mm.
And I was really nervous. And I remember the uh, head playwright and screenwriter was like, hey, so we're all going to read about a 10-minute section from each piece. So can you please choose who you're going to have read? And I said, oh, I don't want someone else to read it. Like it's my show. Like it's my show. Why would I have someone whose story is not who it's not their story. Why would I have them read it? And she was like, no, I think it's really important that you don't read it and that you listen to it. And so the person read through it, and I remember hearing moments being like, that's not what I meant by that, all those kind of things. And I'm really glad, because some of the feedback I got was really helpful, and it was really important that I wasn't the one reading it. And one of the pieces of feedback I got at the time, which was hard to hear, but I think really important, was that I think the earlier stages of the piece, it was a lot of why me, like a lot of victimhood mentality. It was a lot of like, these people left me because I'm crazy, or I did this and they don't get me and they don't get this. And it was a lot of finger pointing, and it was coming from a place of pain and hurt. So, I don't blame myself for having those original thoughts. But they basically said, like, Anna, how did you contribute to things falling apart around you? And again, that wasn't said with any sort of blame, because I was very sick. I wasn't in my right mind, but that doesn't mean that I'm not affecting people. You can, it's intention versus impact, even when I was really out of my mind. And so that really changed the show too, because then it was like, oh yeah, how am I affecting my family and my friends? Why are they reacting to me this way? Yeah, I know I'm traumatized or I'm sick or whatever, but that doesn't make it any less real for the people who are in that tunnel with me. And I do say that in the show. I'm like, I didn't realize at the time that I had such intense tunnel vision that I could only see my own despair, and I couldn't see that people were right there in that tunnel with me. And that's something missing from not only being young, but being young and sick and so involved in what you're going through. And so, yeah, it's just another example of being like, okay, how can I make this piece more mature, in that taking a step out and going, oh yeah, Anna, you weren't the only one going through this. It seemed like you were, but you weren't. My family was going through it. My friends were going through it. People I didn't know that well, I was still affecting them. So,
Yeah. I earlier you said, when someone responds, it's going to get better. It gets better. It's like they're trying to help by just sort of giving you something that they think might be helpful, but instead of asking you what you need, they're trying to prescribe something for you in advance. And
yeah,
it comes from a good place, but it's something that we all have to understand.
yeah,
I might feel like I have a different, that I have an experience that's similar or relating to whatever it is we're talking about. And so my suggestion is coming from that space, but you might just be telling me something because you've got to get it out of you.
yeah.
And you need someone to listen. And I'm waiting to give you a response that you
Mhm.
didn't ask me for.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's um it's so true. I try to make sure when I talk to people and they're in like they're sharing a story, or they're venting, or they're in an intense or you know heightened emotional state, like asking them what they need.
Mm.
Because sometimes we don't even know what we need in that moment, but
Yeah.
sometimes we know what we don't need, even if we don't know even if
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what we actually need. And something that I really appreciated about working with Paul Nicholas, my director, is that I felt like he was really great at, like, when there were a few moments where more than a few, but when I would struggle with certain parts of the show, or with there was one rehearsal where I kind of had my first little breakdown. And I remember talking through what I was feeling in that moment. And part of it was like, I don't allow myself anymore to be the unstable one, because I was the unstable crisis friend for so long,
Mm.
that I'm very aware of trying to make sure that I am never seen that way again. And I'm talking through all of these things that are coming up for me. I'm talking about how the content is subconsciously sort of, I'm still saying all this stuff out loud every day. It's going to affect me. And I remember being in this like rambly, kind of chaotic, sorry, my cat just jumped up, chaotic emotional state. And I remember Paul just like listening. And I could tell from his face that he was not um, ready to jump in with advice. or feedback. He was listening to me. And I think that that is like a quality, especially when directing a show like this, that was so important to have, because he wasn't there to, yes, he had solutions to moments that maybe needed adjusting, or things that could be stronger in different parts. But because it is such an emotional undertaking, when we had those moments that were not scripted, um, I really appreciated his empathy and his very grounded presence and his ability to be like, hey, I'm going to listen to what Anna's saying, because something needs to come out and something is happening inside her. And I'm just going to be there and not be ready to be like, hey, well, have you tried this? Or maybe you can feel this way, or and I think that that is something that I didn't even know I needed until I worked with him. um, I've worked with a bunch of different directors, and they've all been really strong directors in their own ways, but this is something that was very like really, really great about Paul.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was it under this direction, what were some of the like key things that you added here that were not part of a previous production?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh wow, that's such a great question. I'm not sure if this is the greatest answer, but something that I've thought about a lot working with him is he's so meticulous, and there's so many small moments that maybe if you heard, like just the average person heard, like why are they working on this tiny moment, but it completely changes the whole meaning of something. Or he would have a really great suggestion about like, what if you use this word instead of this word, because I think this word doesn't quite make it land the same way. Or just being able to be like, he would be as meticulous as saying like, hey, you need to be facing downstage when you say this one word, and then you need to be walking when you say this word, because if this word is lost, this word doesn't make sense. Those aren't really great examples, but I just feel like he had such a really, really beautiful attention to detail. And because I do think that this version is the goes the deepest it's ever gone, and it also, there's more nuance in it in general in the writing, the way that he was able to capture that nuance in the writing and say, how can we with physicality make this stronger? How can we with just like an emotional shift make this stronger and more clear? Because I think, like I sort of mentioned, I also have so much distance from this era that I think there were parts in the early stages of the rehearsal process where I wasn't intentionally doing it, but I was like disconnected, because I can talk about this stuff like it's my groceries list. I can literally talk about all the stuff that happened to me without being phased, because it's just maybe it's like the ultimate therapization. It's at that point. And I think he would catch me on it and be like, hey, like, you can't talk about this like it doesn't mean anything to you. And obviously said in a more gentle way. But
Yeah.
I think him catching that and being like, hey, no, you are not 23-year-old Anna experiencing this for the first time, but the audience is experiencing you, 34-year-old Anna, talking about this for the first time. And if there aren't stakes and it doesn't affect you and you're not in it, then that's not what we need. That's what the audience needs this, and the story needs it. I'm not sure if that all really made as much sense as I hope it did, but
It
yeah.
did, because sometimes it is the little things, like
Yeah.
you had a solid foundation
Yeah.
here, and so your director knows that, and so they're trying to make the most sense of everything you already have, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is great. You've already presented this so many times, so it is going to be just some tinkering, some fine
Yeah.
tuning, just some
Yeah.
shine, adding a little bit of shine.
I also think that he helped me bring out the humor more,
Hmm.
which I think was really important. Obviously, for the show, there's a lot of dark,
Mm-hmm.
and to have moments to take a breath and be like, oh, okay, I can catch my breath before the next dark moment, which we all need. It's hard to go through an hour show where you're just crying the whole time. You're not
Yeah.
even laughing at all. And so I did get comments from people that said, who had seen other versions, and they said, this is the most I laughed. Like, it felt like the highs and the lows were more, the highs were even higher, so that when we got to the lows, they felt more heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
I really thank Paul for that, because he had a really good eye for finding that humor and like emphasizing it more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked the element of you being backstage,
Hmm.
before your performance. Um, I think the stage manager comes on first saying you have an hour. Is
Mm-hmm.
it right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only part of this that isn't completely authentic
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that a stage manager would give you an hour call. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I like that because it also creates a little bit of tension,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to tell us a story before you go out and perform, and you've created a box by saying you have an hour. We know you have an hour, but
Yeah.
the piece is structured in there, and then as time is progressing, you're getting these calls as the story is building, as your emotions are building as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's that one moment where you're like, I got this,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's everybody's here. We're like, everybody's like, breakthrough, breakthrough. You've got this. You do have this. The audience is right there with you, and I just love that because we're feeling that anxiety at the same time.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's a really, thank you for saying that. Like I can't see the show, so I don't know. Like I don't under I it's almost like I'm so deep in it at this point that it's so
Hmm.
hard for me to know how these choices I made with the script and with the sort of setup, how they actually affect the audience. So I really appreciate you saying that, because it does build in that way. Like at that point that you're talking about, it's 5 minutes till curtain, 5 minutes till places,
Hmm.
and that is kind of the like this big peak in the show, and it is a breakthrough. So yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Did you get the opportunity to engage with the audience from Saturday?
I yes, I had people I know there, and a bunch of people stayed after in the lobby to say hi. And I think uh it, it is, I wish I could bottle the feeling I have after the show, and like I wish I could take a video of like what people are saying to me, because it's so
Hmm.
overwhelming. I tell people like my body is buzzing afterwards. I'm on this both, like I'm so emotionally drained, but I'm also on a high, and it's this like very cathartic experience every time. And so I'm really grateful that people get, I talk a lot in the show about being seen by people,
Hmm.
and how for so long I felt I wasn't seen, and how I just wanted to be seen. And I feel like people come up to me having really seen me for that hour,
Hmm.
and they now see a deeper side or a different side of me. Um and that also, like, again, was really important with working with Paul, is like I felt like he saw me and he saw the story. And that was really important. And to have people that I'm working with, and to have audience members be like, hey, like, I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
That's because that's what I wanted for so long, was for people to get it, and people
Yeah.
didn't get it. And that's, again, not really a blame thing, because it's hard to get it. But I'm glad that I have this vehicle to be like, hey, no, this is exactly what I was thinking at these times, and this is what I meant when I said this, and this is what this diagnosis meant for me, and how it connected to this diagnosis. And um, it's almost like it's like redemption or something. It's like my ability to be like, hey, I can actually tell people this is what I was going through, and this was a cry for help.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
I think it's I think it's like, this is the beauty of making art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we know that that the story you're going to tell has a time frame, and
Mm-hmm.
so we are sitting there tuned in. It's hard to have a conversation with someone that wasn't planned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're sitting next to someone you're not feeling so good today, they might even inquire, but you don't really have enough time to really unpack how you're feeling with them
Yeah.
in this moment, because they don't know how long they don't know
Yeah.
how long it's going to take. You don't know
Yeah.
how long it's going to take. And so the beauty of the story, the fact that you have captured, and keep sort of fine tuning it, is that we are focused, and so we're invested in your journey as well. We know you're going to get somewhere. We don't know where, but we're all hanging on it. I
Yeah.
I just Yeah, you're talking about if you could just sort of bottle up or capture those after moments. Like, I think those moments in the theater as well, with the people resonating with what you're saying, and like you can tell everyone's having their own sort of personal relation about these elements of how we're hitting like the next height in this roller coaster ride.
Yeah. It's and I can sometimes hear the reactions, and I know I can't read their minds or be in their own brains, but there are moments where I hear someone's breath. I hear an audible reaction, and or I'll even hear like words, like people will be like, "Oh," or like "mm-hmm," or those kind of things, and it it's a gift as a performer, because you're like, "Oh, I." In some cases, I'm like, I had no idea that that was going to be the reaction, and in some cases, I'm like, yes, I'm so glad you understood what I was trying to put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself through this process?
Oh wow, what haven't I learned? uh, do you mean throughout this entire, like, the whole journey of the show, or this with this
we
specific?
we could say this since this fringe version.
Yeah, yeah,
What have you learned? Because I'm assuming that you are learning through all of these,
yeah,
but
yeah,
now we're here at the piece as it stands. What did you learn about this experience? What have
yeah.
you learned about this experience about yourself?
You know, I'm sure my answers will continue to evolve and change as
Hmm.
I reflect, because I almost feel like I've been on this go, 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 where I'm like, don't have a moment to, like, I haven't let it hit me yet. And sometimes, it hits you in different times. But
Hmm.
um, I think there are a lot of things. One is, I think that doing this show and doing it this time around, because so much of the story was in Philly, it just meant different. It was different for me, and it kind of gave me this. I was sort of reclaiming the city that felt for so long like it broke me, and like I got lost in, and I was really in pain, and I was suffering in. And I moved back to Philly from New York last year, and I remember being scared, being like, I don't know, there's people who knew me during this bad era of my life that are here, especially, in the theater community. And there are people that I associate this city with. And there's a version of myself I associate Philly with. And they're so deeply intertwined. And I think I learned so much. I learned that I'm so much more powerful and separate from that era than I ever thought I was. I think that I am not that version of myself anymore. And it was another reminder that people can change. And yeah, at our core, we are ourselves. But it's like it was also a reminder that, like, every single person I've met who's affected me in the show, who's helped me work on the show, whether it's a director or a stage manager or any sort of person artistically I'm collaborating with, like, I got to meet them in this version of myself. And that's such a gift to know that, like, 2015 Anna couldn't have had what she has right now. Um, I don't know. Sorry, my cat is perched up here and she's like peering down at me.
Cats love podcasts.
Cats love
They
podcasts. And
do.
what's funny is my cat's name is Trazzy, short for Trazodone, my sleeping med. So it's
Mm.
very fitting for this. But yeah, no, I just think that, like, I, we build up stories in our minds, and Philly's not out to get me, and people are not necessarily out to get me, and maybe some of them are, and that's okay. We're not going to be able to redo those years. We're not going to be able to change what we did or how we acted or who we were. But there's people that hold me now and see me now, and that has become so much more evident than I ever believed possible.
Mm.
And I'm just so grateful. And it's almost like every time I perform the show, every time I rehearse it, every run, every scene, every word, just it's like I know myself more, even just after a few months of rehearsing. And that's just like crazy, because I didn't think. I started rehearsals in early August and I feel like a different person. I feel
Yeah.
much more like I have more ownership of the story.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We do tend to move through the world without really checking in on ourselves as much.
Yeah.
Because we're like, you leave the house and your destination is work. So your focus is going to work, getting ready for work.
Mm,
You come home, you might have to make dinner or something, or you're meeting up with friends or something. There's always a task for us.
yeah.
And we don't always allocate time for ourselves to like check
Yeah.
in and be like, how are you today? How
Yeah.
did things go? Is there anything you want to sit down and focus and unpack, about today, this week, plans for later? We're just so used to being mobile.
Yeah. And we're so used to being on the grind or like trying to be
Yeah.
productive or trying to make money or what insert the thing here. And
Hmm.
I've noticed because I've had so many people in town for the show, for each show, that I haven't had a lot of time to myself. And I'm realizing like I need that more so than ever. I think that's a combination of just like every year I get older, post pandemic life, my social battery just has gotten, I think, smaller and
Yeah.
exhausts more easily with every year that passes. But even with this show, is like I have to take a time and be like, people will say, "Hey, will you want to get dinner after the show?" I'm like, I have no idea what I'll need after the show because I I'm like my brain and body are just sort of all over the place,
Yeah.
and it is just it is so true. We don't check in with ourselves enough. I have a friend who every time she goes on a date, halfway through the date, she goes to the bathroom and she checks in with her body to be like, "What am I feeling?
Mm.
Is my heart racing because I have good butterflies, or am I actually anxious and my body
Yeah.
is telling me something about this other person?" And I think that that's um, kind of a similar thing. It's like, yeah, how often are we like stopping while we're on the street and like, what is my breath actually doing? What is my body doing? What is my
Yeah.
brain doing? Yeah.
Perhaps there is a benefit to having mirrors around. You could
Yeah.
stop and see yourself and just take a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Check in, please.
Yeah. No, for real. It's because we're taught that everything has to happen in excess.
Hmm.
Everything has to be fast. Everything has to be like a product. And I think that's kind of going back to asking you what you asked about. What I learned is like this is like a never ending product, or it's always going to be a process. I hope that there's another version of this show. If I perform it, I hope to perform it again in Philly sometime soon. And I hope that that version is even better than this version. And that's really exciting, is like remembering that, like, yeah, the show is a product. I'm putting it out there for an audience, and products change.
Hmm.
We get a new iPhone every 2 seconds. We can get a new version of the show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a benefit about a solo piece is that
Yeah.
you can evolve it. You can tinker with
Hmm.
it because as time passes, you grow, and this is sort of a capture of your growth up to this point too. At
Yeah.
some point, you might look at it and say, you know what, this is locked. I've got a new story that
Yeah.
complements this.
Hmm.
It's the journey beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I've asked every artist in the festival this question in different ways. I'm trying to find the right way to
Yeah.
present it. What do you need as an artist to allow your art to become an offering?
Oh, wow. Hmm.
And it could be anything. It could be, I need a bowl of marshmallows. I need Instacart. I need rent paid. Full tank of gas. A moleskin
um,
journal.
I mean, on sort of the sillier side, like right before I go on stage, I've been giving myself an out loud pep talk that is
Hmm.
like, I will say the words like, "You're a star. This is your playground. This is your story. You own the story. This is yours. This is no one else's. You're going to have fun. It's going to be fun because you love telling it and you love being on stage." And also, I will have to go to the bathroom like 18 times with a nervous pee, like
Uh-huh.
right before I go on stage.
Yeah.
That's just sort of the silly thing. But I think for real, like I owning it is so important. I think, obviously it's same with like when you walk into an audition room, the people who are watching you audition can smell if you don't think you deserve to be there. or they can, and I think going out on stage and as best as I can from the first moment being like, this is your stage right now, and this is your story. This is
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there are universal topics in the story, and there are experiences that a lot of people have gone through. But this version of the story is specific to Anna Snapp, and your reflections and how you phrase them and how you present them are specific to Anna Snapp. And so being not only owning that, but being proud of it and being like, this is something that I want to share. Because I think I'm an anxious person. I get really nervous about just things going wrong or the technical aspects, or I get nervous about a lot of things before going on stage. And so reminding myself that like this is like the most special thing that I could be doing for myself. And it is different than being in a different type of play, and there's beauty to every type of theatrical experience, but there's something particularly beautiful that like will never replace what it's like to tell my story and have people be witness to that.
Yeah. And I think this is a great place to end.
Great. Yeah.
I'm so glad that we got to hold space for you here on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing your journey and talking to me about this piece. The production is I Found That the Sun Will Rise Tomorrow. It is in the Fringe through September 27th. However, whenever you listen to this, be a part of this conversation. Anna, how can people stay in touch with you to follow your journey and anything else you might have to
Yeah, I mean, you
share?
can check me out on social media if you want to check me out on Instagram or TikTok. My handle is at Anna Snapp, my name, and I'm very active on social media. And yeah, I feel like that's probably the best. I also www.annasnap.com, but social media, I do, I'm on there a lot as a content
Great.
creator. So yeah, yeah.
Great. So we'll have that information in the show notes so you can go. But if there's time, please be a part of this conversation. If not, follow Anna and her journey forward through the connections that we posted in the show notes. Anna Snapp, thank you so much for taking the
Thank you.
time. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank
Really
you. Thank you
was.
so much. This was lovely.